Hey guys, I'm Lori Nordstrom. Thanks for joining me this month. I wanted to talk to you about black and white hand-painted portraits. Some people call it selective color, and a lot of people kind of are when it comes to the selective color process or the hand-painted process. But I started doing this back in the day when it was film prints and I was painting with oils on canvas. And that's how I got into the black and white hand-painted look. And I did practice on every single medium. I used everything that I could, from oils to charcoals to pencils, all of it. I played around with everything and found a style and a look that I loved. And then when I went digital, I decided I wanted to have that same look in my digital process. So I want to show you my version of the hand-painted black and white portrait and just show you how I do it. I'm going to walk you through my process in Photoshop. I do feel like this look is still something that my clients come to me for. And so while industry-wide it may be something that people kind of turn their nose up at right now, a lot of times it's the way it's done. And so there is a good way and there's a not so good way. And of course it's all subjective and we all have our own styles and different looks, but I'm going to show you my process and how you can maybe incorporate it into a product line for yourself. Hey guys, I just wanted to show you my process for hand-painted black and white portraits. And I do still call these hand-painted even though I'm doing them in Photoshop digitally. But I've been using this same process for about 15 years now. And this is my finished product. So I'm going to take this color image to this black and white hand-painted image. And it's just a look. It's just something different that you may want to offer to your clients. And I can actually charge more for this type of portrait just because it's different and it appears that it took a lot of time. And so I'm going to show you how to do this quickly. It may be something that you want to add to your product mix. Don't knock it till you try it. But it is super easy. I go for this really just sweet, subtle look. I don't like bright painted things in the images, but just the sweet look. And I'm going to show you how I get that. So I'm going to start with a color image, and I always want to start with a color image. That is something that we have to do so that we can use our history tools and snapshots, and that's what I'm going to be using. And what I'm going to show you to use is the history brush and then snapshots. And so I started with this image, and you can see here that it's a baby, so there's not a whole lot to retouch, not a whole lot to do. But I did some retouching, and so I at that time created a snapshot. And to create a snapshot, all you're going to do is click this little camera icon at the bottom of your history palette, and that'll create a snapshot for you wherever you want to remember. And your history brush, I've got mine set here at that snapshot so that it will remember this state, this really pretty sweet, soft look that we've got going. The next thing that I want to do when I've got everything retouched and how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and run my black and white action. I've got a quick key here that's set up for that, but I just wanted to show you where it is here in your action palette. If you add a black and white action that you love, I'm just going to click go. And my action is really soft. If I'm going to leave this a black and white image, I'm going to either pop my curves or just bring in the levels and get it a little bit more contrasty. As you can see, this would be something more like I would produce if I was just doing black and white, tweaking it a little bit. But I like my hand-painted images really soft, and if there's any tweaking to be done, I'll do it at the end. So let's go back to our history palette. And right now I've got this retouched state, and then I've got my black and white, so I want to go ahead and make a snapshot of that black and white, and I'll show you why we do that in just a little bit. But first, we're here, we've created our black and white image. My history brush is back at my color image, and now I'm going to just hit my history brush, which is here on, it's a little brush on your tool palette here, but I'm just going to click Y, and that's my quick tool. I've got just a medium-sized brush, and I'm just going to go in here and not worry about the edges right now. I want to first go in and just hand paint or bring back the color in the bigger areas with a bigger tool. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it quickly. I'm not going to get too precise with this just for sake of time for you guys, but just to show you how I do this. I am hand painting back or history brushing back at 100% at opacity. And I do that because if we history brush at 40% and then go back over it, it's going to add to it. And so there's no way to get super precise with when you're coloring in so that you don't go back over yourself. And so I just do it at 100%. And then when I've done the bigger areas, let's put that back at 100. When I've done the bigger areas, I'm going to go back and get my edges. So I'll just go here and brush around the edges, bringing that color back. And I'm going to do that to this entire little headpiece. But I'm just going to do that much for you guys so you can just see what we're doing. And the reason that I've got my black and white snapshot here is because there are going to be times when I'm going to, whoops, go out of the lines. And so I've got that black and white history to go back to and just remove that color. That's also going to happen, let's go ahead and go back to our color now. It's also going to happen in parts of the image where you may have something that because it's up against skin or because it's doubled up, like in this tulle skirt, it's going to be darker than the rest of the skirt. And like here, it's going to be up against skin, so it's going to be darker. And we'll go back. Whoops. I can just Control Z that one. That was a big mistake. But I'm going to go back to my black and white state and history brush that back to black and white where I just screwed up. So you can see that. But we still have this image or this part of the tool here that's darker. And so I'll show you how I'm going to fix that after we've got everything hand painted like we want it. And we'll just pretend like this whole thing is done and I've gone back in and gotten really, whoops, I'm on my black and white state here. Go back to my color. And we'll just pretend like we've gone back and gotten all the edges just like we want them. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my Hue Saturation Palette. That's Command U or Control U if you're PC. And that's here. And all I'm going to do is drag down my hue saturation to where I want it. Now with this, we've got two different colors going on. And I probably going to want this lighter than the skirt. So I've pulled down my hue saturation. That's about good for me for the skirt and the flower. I do like things really soft. And so I'm going to say okay. But then I'm going to do it one more time for the flower. So watch the flower. We're going to take that lighter. And there we go. It's not a huge big difference, but here's where we were before. Here's where we are now. And I like that better. I like it a little more subtle. And so I'm going to put my history brush there where I want the flower, go back a step where I like the skirt, and then just at 100% again, just brush over that flower and lighten it up. It's remembering that second hue saturation levels that we did. And I'm going to do the same thing to this little dark patch back here with the skirt. So you can see how that goes. And then I want to do just a little bit of hand painting to the eyes and the cheeks. I usually save this for last because this is something that doesn't normally work like the rest of your image is going to work. She's got really blue eyes, and so they are hand painting back pretty close to the original, so they're fine. But every once in a while you're going to need to brush in some color, maybe add some gold or some green or whatever you need to add in there, and then play with your hue saturation just a little bit. And then the lips and cheeks are one thing that I do differently, and I do those at about 10%. So I'm just going to hit my 1 key, which is going to change our opacity to 10, and just kind of brush on the color of those lips and cheeks. And even that is too much for me. I like them to be really, really subtle. So I'm going to put my history brush on my black and white, make my brush really big here, and just kind of just swipe over them until they're as soft as I like them. And that's probably about right there. And so there you have it. It's this sweet, soft, hand-painted look. And then if you'll notice with the finished image here, I like to warm my black and white hand-painted images up a bit. And so all I'm going to do, and you may like the cooler black and white better for them, that's great too. It's all personal style. I like to warm them up, and so I'm just going to Command B, open up my color balance palette, and I'm just going to add some red and add some yellow. And usually it's just, 10 10 or less on these, and that works pretty well for this one. You can play with it a little bit just based on your image, but I typically like it just barely warmed up. And so this is before when it was cooler. This is warmed up, and you can see the difference. And if I had done all the edges and gotten in here nice and clean, then this would be done for me. So as you can see, it's really fast and easy. This is my finished image here, and this is going to be a saleable print for me. I like to print these either on watercolor paper, on canvas, on something with a nice texture. And then if I'm printing them on regular paper, I'll go ahead and add a canvas texture or add something that's just really gritty to it, just because I like it to have that look and feel of a painted piece. And I used to paint on canvases with oils, and so that's kind of the look that I want to give this. And so I hope you enjoy that, and if it's something that you've thought about at all, or maybe you thought, oh, I hate hand-selected color, or I hate quote-unquote hand-painted pieces, maybe this will give you just a different outlook on what can be done. And just by doing it quickly and then lowering that saturation so that it's just really soft and sweet, I think makes the biggest difference, because it just needs to be that little tiny touch of color. Hope you enjoyed that. Super simple, easy way to do black and white hand-painted portraits and maybe create something brand new, a new product line to offer to your clients. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.